Hi, this is Sally Wood for Be Inspired, and today I'm going to be working on this footstool. I've been asked to change the buttons on the top for a slightly different design. That's the only alteration I've got to make on it. So let's get on with it. Now, I've been asked to remove the legs and not put them back on. Apparently they're going to be having some new legs put on these. As with any other project, I need to remove the bottom cloth, the back tacking and all the fabric. This just takes a little while to get done. Knock the staples up, then with your pair of pliers just ease them out. Don't just pull because you'll hurt yourself. Roll the staples out and you won't stress your hands too much. I've been asked to put deep buttoning on, which is going to be frustrating because I don't have the tool to cut the foam out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the center mark across front to back and side to side, and then I'll work out where I want everything. I'm going to use this. This is a tool that I use for something else. It's a chalk mark. When you are measuring the length and the width for something with deep buttons, this is one way you can do it. Measure to the end, push it down like that, and then on round. And that takes me to 43 inches. I'm going to make it 45, and then the same this way. This goes all the way down to the top of the wood base, about an inch. Always choose the lines that have the most holes in them. You don't want to have a mistake. You could do it mathematically, but at least here you have a visual. You can't mess it up, which is very easy to do. So that comes to 75 inches with all the bits added. So I'm going to have two pieces and join it. That's irritating. It's not hard, it's just irritating. So I'll just cut one piece at 45 and start with that. Now I've placed my dacron on and I've cut the first ones that I'm going to use. Comes down to the edge on all four sides. Before I go on anymore, I'm going to just cut these up to the center like that. I'll do the end when I get there. And what I have already done is I've cut these open to about an inch down, just with my electric knife. That's so that when you push everything in, it just folds into those cracks. Now before I start, I need to work out which way this velvet goes. Sometimes it's tram lined, which means that the rough and smooth is going this way, but I've got a feeling it comes this way. So I'm going to just fold the fabric like this and see which way the pile goes. And it looks like it goes this way. It doesn't feel that rough when I do it that way. Sometimes if you run your finger that way, you'll feel it, but it's quite a smooth fabric. That's the way it goes. The pile of the fabric is going this way, so I'm going to work from the back down. I have to be 34 inches from this end, which takes me to here. If I pull this back, here's my center mark. Now I'm going to have to add more fabric to one end, so I'm going to put that on this end and then move that over. As long as I've measured 2 inches inside there to the front border here, makes it about 10 inches. So 10 inches from there in is the line that I want to go across here. So what I'm doing is I'm just measuring down from here to 10 inches. If I could find my chalk, I would mark it. I don't really fancy marking it with anything as it might bleed through. I know this is straight because I actually cut it to the way the weft thread went. It's just one of those things that I often do. And if I fold that over, you can see it forms a line. I'll put another one up here. I want to be able to pinch it straight, if nothing else. If this line goes in straight, the rest should follow. That's the theory. Now, I was always taught to start in the middle, but it's such a small piece. I'm going to start on this one. Although technically this is my center one, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to start on the top here. I've pulled this so I can see where my line is here. I'm going to pop this through between my fingers like that and pop that down through that hole there, through the center, all the way through like that. So kind of crunch the fabric up a little bit so that I can push the button deep inside. Now I've only got normal twine for this project. That's what I was taught with, so I'm just going back to some of the old-fashioned things that I used to do and pull this through. Now I'm going to move this little piece into that slot like that, just to hold it. I can move it in a minute. And I'm going to start folding this piece under and this side under. You fold it under because if you have a bed or a chair, you don't want the dust catching on here. So you want everything to be facing down. So I'm going to take that a little bit closer. Preferably start the pleat on either side where you put the hole in. Don't go over. So here's the hole. And this fabric's horrible. It's really slippery. So I'm going to pleat it that side and try to pleat it that side. Just doesn't want to go in straight. I might have to put a pin there just to hold it, but I really don't want to because I don't want to mark the fabric. This is velvet and it just does its own thing. Maybe pull that out, maybe that will help. I can't even hold on to it. My fingers just aren't working properly. So I'm going to pop that down there with the pleats coming either side like that and pull that out, slot that in, and then I'm going to tip it up and then tie that off. So here's my ties. I'm going to put a wad of cotton wadding there and put my first tie in. Pull it tight like that. Actually, before I tie it off, I'm going to make sure that that's still deep inside. It's still deep inside on the other side. And now tie it 2 more times like that so it doesn't come undone. Then tip it back down for my next button to go in. I'm just going to roll that along so I've got a nice sharp line, which takes me to about there. I can see the lines there. I'm going to take this pin out and I'm going to poke that down into that hole. It might walk a little bit, but hopefully it will keep more or less straight. I think that will go there and there. It looks okay. By the time that's been twisted into place and brought forward and that brought back. I think another thing that's wrong with this is the foam really isn't stable enough for this. It's quite soft foam. Oh, actually it probably help if I take that pin out. Always take pins out. I'm going to have to rework these constantly, I think. There's no hardboard underneath. And this wasn't designed for this kind of buttoning. So I'm working with something that really doesn't want to work with me. So maybe that will work if I pre-work that like that. I'm really worried about this here because that doesn't really want to go in very nicely. I'm pushing down and the whole thing's giving, which doesn't help. Doesn't help me, I should say. I'm just hoping to do a good job with something that doesn't want to work. I think this might be a disaster, an absolute disaster. I hate disasters. I'm going to start twisting this one in to go to the hole here. So I've got this one in. I think it's going to start working. My advice is get something that isn't quite so slippery under your fingers. I don't like making a pig's ear of something. It really upsets me. So here's my next mark here. And I'm going to put it in here. Now the other thing I did was I changed out the dacron for something thinner because it just wasn't holding, it was just collapsing and I don't want it to collapse. So having a thinner dacron will smooth the edges, but it shouldn't interfere with the foam. I'd much rather show you that I have difficulties because it's not fair to show these videos and they're all perfect. So again, there's my 10-inch mark. Take the pin out and push it down into that hole and make it as even as possible. Pull this through and I'm going to pull that one through just for now. It doesn't have to stay there, it's just to hold it. Work where the next ones are, push my needle on down, hook in my thread like that. I don't think I'm pulling them in too tight. Really don't think I am. So I haven't had to do one from scratch I can't even remember. Maybe when I lived in England, maybe when I lived here. It's not something I do very regularly, obviously. I'm just glad the old guy showed me how to do it. I call him the old guy because he was very... He was in World War II and had been born during World War I. I can't phone him, he's probably long since gone. I can pull this in. Once I've got this top row in and the next one, I can start pulling this in if I want to. I'm making sure that this is still 10 inches to this point here. This is the last one I can put in as I need to join the fabric. Push that down there like that. This will twist into there. That's the one that one goes into, and that will just continue down there for now. Now usually I put the thread through and then hook it over, but because I can only put it through once, I'm tying them off just to hold them so they don't twist when they're in place. So all I've done is I've pulled this in with the button, pulled it on through and tight. I'm not going to finish it off because I've got this corner to put in and the fabric here. I'm going to work the center one in, which is here, by twisting the fabric out there and out here before I put the button in. I'm not happy with this, but I think if it looks evenly awful all the way through, it won't be so bad. And I am going to just pop that down the center. The tip of my finger is going to guide it in like that. This pleat comes out there, that pleat goes out there, all the way through, and I'll tie it off just like I've done the others. I could actually take all of these and secure it to the frame, but what I'm worried about is if I pull it too much, the top will become concave and then that would look even worse. Pull this in as tight as I can. So just tie it off like you do any other project with buttons. Now I'm going to work to the next button just as I've done here. If I need to, I'm going to fold that under a little bit more. Make sure that that goes that way, that goes that way, like that, and then I can bring this one in here. I tried to aim down the center of these, brings them in a little bit better. This has been a trip all the way through. I'll work them in as best I can. That goes in there, that twists that way, that twists that way, and then you build up your diamonds. Now I do remember being told that the point where all of these pleats cross is actually the center point where the button needs to go in, and I think that's just about there. And pop this one in and pull it in from the other side like I've done with everything else. So I've worked this one in, that there, this in here, pull that back, and I think it's going to work. So I'm going to pop the needle down here. For the side one, I've popped this down through here. This is this pleat here. If I'm lucky, I can get that pleat there to go the other way. I think when that's pulled in, it will be fine. I think I like the position of that. I'll rework these when I get to them. When I like the position, I'm going to put my needle in. Just make sure that I can get that pleat right there. I can always move the button if it doesn't work. Put that down the center of the hole and thread my threads through like I did everywhere else and pull it on through and secure it. Now again, I'm going to pop this one down into here and pull it through just like I did here and push it in. I think that's about even. Pull that back because that will go that way and that will go that way. I'll pre-fold it like that. It will fold in. It's slowly folding in. It's just a nightmare. I had a nightmare the other week about fabric, but this is my new one. Pop that down there and just pull it tight through. I'll tie it off properly later. And now for my middle row. I'm actually going to start on this side of the center. I know I started this side of the center before. I'm going to move this one out and then that one out, then center that way, center that way, and then it's just one more row, so not too much further to go, and hopefully these might go in a bit better. Now I've got to the point where I've had to turn it so it's facing me, but I'm still going to carry on the same way as I'd already done, which is to pull in to each hole. Just remember to change direction when you're doing this. So before I was tucking everything underneath and now I'm tucking everything over the top, just to keep that going the same way. If in doubt, pull on the center there, roll that under there like that. Pull on the center here, and that one's already gone in. Then just make sure that that one and that one can go out to the next rows. Pop the needle in just the same as you've done all the way through. I'm going to bring this down and staple it in, just the center. And I'm going to bring this one down in the center and secure that too. Just make sure it's a little way down from the wood, which is here, to the base. And then work the pleat in because you want the pleats on this side to go to the center. So I'm going to pull this out to this here so that it goes in smoothly. And then I'm going to work this pleat in here like that, almost up and down. It doesn't matter if it crosses over a little bit more. Now here, again, I'm going to pull it down the center and again work that under that one so that this pleat comes this way, which means I have to pull this fabric out to make it even at the top and then pull that across and into place. And I'm pulling this in to here. I think what I'm going to do is pull it down a little bit so that the top looks more even. I think now that I've pulled it in, that isn't in the center anymore, so let's see if I can get that out. Bring that down. Try to make sure that all of the tops here are the same or very similar. Center down like that. secure. Take it to one side. The outside usually comes down a little bit more. I'm putting the piping on, and what I'm going to do is measure up from the base to where I want the piping to go. And I've actually kind of cut the border a little bit shy. So instead of 5 inches, I'm doing 4 3/4. Secure the piping in place. I don't want to take all of this off, so I've just slide that underneath. Pinch it to where the sewing line is, line it up, put a bit of tension on there. You don't want it too loose, and secure. And then just work your way along. It takes a little while, but it's worth doing to get it all even. Sometimes I run it to the top of the board. Just back tack the fabric and then fold the fabric along where the piping is. Make sure it's nice and firm and staple it into position. I'm not going to finish that end because I'm going to bring something over, but what I can do is staple this back into place. Just secured that under the back tacking, pop that up there like that and secure that too. And now I'm going to bring this piece underneath. That comes from the side. I want that as far over as I possibly can get it. Let's roll that up into there like that. As far, and I mean as far, you pull it really, really tight in and secure. Now this piece under here, I'm going to just secure. I should have put more fabric on, I just didn't think about it. And then down. And all I'm going to do is pull this fabric here down and into place and secure it. Bring my piping along and secure that. And then bring my bottom cloth up and secure that. Now go into the next section and do exactly the same until I get to here. Now on the corner here, just roll the underside back so that this comes more or less in line with that corner. You don't have to sew it down. I often do, but you don't have to because it's going to be pulled in real tight. And there's pleats up here, so that's why I'm not going to worry so much on this piece. Bring the piping in and around like that. Try to make it as square as possible. The piping finishes there and it finishes there, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to roll that like that and cover the difference. Just make sure it looks even. That looks nice. Pop that in there like that, and then with the bottom cloth I'm just going to roll that in like that, fold it down over the top and make it look neat, and the project's done. He didn't want me putting the legs on because he's putting new legs on it. Thank you for joining me on this project. I feel ashamed. This hasn't gone in as well as I'd hoped. I found working with the fabric that I would get an oily residue on my hand. So whenever I was pulling it in, it was slipping through my fingers and I kept having to wash my hands while I was doing it. Apart from that, it's doable. It's gone in, it looks okay. I think once the ladies started putting things on here, the pleats will settle in and it'll be fine. I'm really pleased with the way the join went. It actually went in, oh, this side. This is the join. I think that went in very well. So if you want to hear more from me, please subscribe, hit the bell button. A few thumbs up would be absolutely excellent. And in the meantime, take care. See you later. Ciao.